On today's Lou or False, we're going to be talking about tires. 5 questions, 5 answers. Stay tuned. Question number 1. I took my car with a flat tire into a shop, and they refused to fix it, saying plugging tires was illegal. And then I went to another, and they fixed it. What gives? What's true and what's false?
And of course, this is the very first question, and of course, I don't have a straight answer for you. Yes and no is the correct answer.
Now, obviously, every jurisdiction has slightly different rules, but for the most part, we all follow the guidelines generated by our tire industry experts, and so does our provincial or state regulators. As you can see from this repair, a tire plug, it's done from the outside. We don't demount the tire from the wheel. Now, these guidelines state that we have to inspect the tire from the inside whenever we're repairing a tire. Obviously, if you're repairing the tire from the outside, you're not inspecting it. Plugging a tire is actually a lot easier than patching a tire. Watch our technician Terry as he patches this tire. You're going to see it's a lot more work to demount the tire, prep the tire, and do all the work than just simply forcing a plug in from the outside. These repair procedures dictate that the injury, well, that's the hole, must be first completely filled with a suitable vulcanizing material or a solid rubber stem, and then secondly, a patch must then be applied to the inner liner to complete this repair. Whew, that's a lot. So why do some shops plug a tire and some shops refuse to plug a tire and only patch it? So this is where we get to the legal part. There's no specific law that says do A or B. It's an assumption of liability. If you, as the rock star do-it-yourselfer that you are, if you go buy a plug kit and you do the repair in your own driveway, well, you're assuming the liability. If that tire fails because of your repair, you're liable for it.
So any auto repair shop or a tire repair, tire vendor, we all have insurance policies, at least we're supposed to, and those insurance policies dictate that we have to follow the guidelines that are put in front of us. So if I repair your tire and I plug it and I don't follow the guidelines, I, as a tire business owner, I assume the liability if that tire fails. Guess what? I'm not assuming any liability when I know I'm not doing the proper repair. Tire plugs are the old-fashioned way of repairing your tire. Any place that still does them, well, chances are they want to do it cash because they don't want a record of it.
Question number 2.
Is it true if I buy 2 brand new tires, they have to be installed at the rear of the vehicle?
Yes, in fact, they do need to be at the rear of the vehicle. When that first came out, I was like, what? And I didn't really understand it, but now I do, and here's why.
Now, there are a couple reasons, but the primary one has to do with hydroplaning. It's when the tire can't effectively clear the water that it's cutting through. In the heavy rains, this water will gather in front of the tire. And the faster you go, the more this effect is amplified, until the point where the water in front of the tire can no longer be cleared and the tire lifts up and rides on top of the water instead of the road. So now when we take 2 brand new tires and we combine them with 2 worn tires, we get an imbalance in that ability to clear the water. Finally, I'm going to tie this all together with a discussion about oversteer versus understeer. Naturally, when you're driving down the road and you turn your steering wheel, you expect your vehicle to turn in the direction that you just pointed it. Understeer is what occurs when you turn the steering wheel a certain amount, but the vehicle keeps going closer to straight. It doesn't turn as much, or it understeers. Oversteering is obviously the opposite of that. You're turning your steering wheel, but the vehicle turns more than you expect it to turn. It oversteers. A vehicle with 2 new tires in the front only will have superior water evacuation up front and poorer in the rear. This will lead to an oversteer condition in the rain and snow. Alternatively, when we have the new tires in the rear and the used ones in the front, the vehicle will understeer.
So for the average driver, a car that understeers is always easier for the driver to control than a car that oversteers. Oversteering usually results in spin out because everybody overcorrects. When your car turns sharper than you think it's going to turn, you throw the wheel back and you end up getting yourself into a panic situation where you usually end up spinning out. That's why the new tires are put in the rear. The front tires are typically the older tires.
Do I really need winter tires?
It seems to be the conversation with winter tires versus all-season tires can get very heated very quickly. Not sure why that is. It's almost like it's the Ford versus GM or the Mac versus PC argument.
Regardless, winter tire use has gone up pretty steadily over the last few years. We're at 69%, and that's not including Quebec. So for your remaining 31%, let's talk about one thing and one thing only: stopping distance. If 7 out of 10 cars can outbrake you even on wet pavement, how long do you think it's going to be before you end up slamming into the back of someone? Slowly but surely, we're seeing state and provincial governments force their insurance providers to give a discount for winter tire use. It's a proven fact that winter tire equipped vehicles get into less accidents, so why shouldn't that discount be offered back to those using the tires?
Hey Lou, to find the right tire pressure, do I use what's on the tire or do I use what's indicated by the front door?
Thank you for the question, Jay. This is going to be the easiest of the 5, I think. The pressure that is listed on the tire is the maximum tire pressure that this tire can hold. It's not the ideal tire pressure. The ideal tire pressure is going to be listed on your door jamb. Now, that's going to be your winter as well as your summer pressure. You're going to keep that pressure maintained, not exceeding that. So if you have the appropriate tires on your car, they're never going to list. The pressure that's listed on here is never going to be below the pressure that's on the door jamb. Question number 5. What causes noisy tires? Ooh, that's an interesting one. Well, there's no simple answer for this one. There's multitudes of things that cause your tires to become noisy. Uneven wear is the ultimate answer, but what causes the uneven wear? Well, you could have an alignment issue on it, that's a big one, as well as you could have some sort of worn suspension components. The most popular of that are the worn shocks or struts. Let's go look at a couple. All right, we're heading out here in the shop. We're gonna go to our scrap metal bin, because I did a couple front struts on a Lexus yesterday, so let's go grab them out of here. You see this one here. This is the left front out of that Lexus RX 350. And as you can see here, all the fluid and whatnot right there, that's all the fluid that's come out of this strut assembly. Now this should have tension on here. This should, I shouldn't be able to do this nearly as easily as I can. So when I push that down, you can hear it. This little display here is great for demonstrating how a shock absorber fails. And it's one of the products, the demonstration products from Monroe. And not that we buy a lot of Monroe products, but it's a great little tool. So if we grab the Warren shock right here, I think that's probably out of Dodge Caravan. Look how quickly that goes up and down. Now let's look at this one here. This is the good product here. A lot more effort to put it down. This particular tool is very useful for us. Good side here, if we're turning that, we can see that moves along, no problems. Here we have the problem side. So this is the worn shock absorber right there. That's the tire that has premature wear. And we can see that this demonstrating tool has the tire skipping. So basically, whenever this tire hits a bump, it's gonna go up. And the spring, which is not located in this demonstrator, is going to push it back down. Up, spring pushes it back down. The only job of that device right there, the shock absorber or the strut, is to effectively dampen or slow down the recoiling back and forth, back and forth. So effectively the tire is bouncing. The tire is going up and down. It's coming down harder on certain spots. So when it's coming down harder on certain spots, it's wearing the tire more aggressively in those spots. As you can see from this image, this is an uneven, odd worn tire. It's off an 18-wheeler, but you get the idea. You're going to have a tire that has high spots and low spots, which are going to be noisy. There's feathering, there's cupping, there's all kinds of variables. All you need to know is that they're all going to be noisy, and they're all related to something that's gone wrong on your car. Anyways, this has been Lou or False, and thanks for watching it. If you've made it this far, you are freaking awesome. Anyways, have a great day, and I'll catch you at the next video. We'll talk to you soon.